Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا محمد الصادق بعد الأمين أما بعد. So inshallah today we'll continue our series about the prophet stories, and today inshallah to be number 6, Prophet Ibrahim, and also we might talk about Ismail alayhi salam. So after the story of Hud, we have Ibrahim. Okay. And Ibrahim and his tribe used to live in a place nowadays known as Saudi Arabia. It used to be called Al Jazeera Al Arabiya, or like the whole Arab Peninsula. And also, there is another area called Bilad al-Sham, which is nowadays known as Palestine, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon. And at that time, those people used to worship. They used to idol worship. They used to worship the asnam, or the idols. And additionally, they also worship the sun, the moons, all the other things that they could see as well. And Ibrahim, he grew up in that area, like in this environment that they could worship whatever they want, and specifically the idols. Um, and one interesting fact that his dad used to make them. So it's not just, worshiping them. He make living out of it. That's very interesting. So what happened is, at that time, Allah have give Ibrahim consciousness. Like he used to think, oh, why we're doing this? Why those people are worshiping the Asnam and so on and so forth. So he used to have he used to think. Allah give him, subhanallah, this capability that we think. And Allah have given it to everyone. And subhanallah, we'll see what happened to him. So Ibrahim, Allah have chose him and to make the da'wah and to tell other people about Allah and to worship Allah only, not to worship the idols. And the same kind of the same thing between all the prophets as well. And when he started making da'wah to his people, they left him. They literally told him, "Leave us alone. Like, you have nothing to do with our idols." And he told him to worship Allah alone and not to worship anything or associate anything with him, because their idea behind worshiping the asnam or the idols was, oh, we're just worshiping them to make them, because they will make us closer to Allah. And you will get the idea behind that when we said, when we mentioned the story of Nuh alayhi salam, because those 5 good people, the righteous people, the shaitan, out of kindness, he's like, oh, just make idols for them. That way, once you see them, you gotta remember Allah. And as we mentioned, generation after generation, people forgot the meaning of it, and they started worshiping the idols itself instead of Allah. And they were saying, oh, we found our father doing that, so why? That means they're truth. And that's, subhanallah, that's not a logical thing to do. Type. So that's why Allah have give us brain to think about everything around us. Type. Now, as we mentioned, Ibrahim has grew up in the household that he used to be at. It's all about idol worshiper. And طيب, say a lot of time. So now Allah says in the Quran, واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم. Allah has mentioned in the book Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now, one thing about Ibrahim, he's known as Khalilullah, or like a companion of Allah, or friend. Also, another name or another synonym for Ibrahim, he's the father of all prophet. And we'll get to know why, because it's, subhanAllah, he's the father of Ismail. Ibrahim, he's the father of many prophets after him. So that's why he called the father of Anbiya. Even the Prophet Muhammad, he come from Ibrahim, if you go to the roots of ancestry. Yeah, so Allah says, واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا. Now, let's look at the conversation that happened between Ibrahim and his dad. Now, when Allah have give Ibrahim that he's a prophet and he has to, to deliver the message of Allah, what was his dad's answer? What was his reaction to it? Now, Allah says in the Quran, إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لم تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. He said, "Oh my father, يا أبتي لم تعبد, why do you worship something that couldn't even hear or see or even benefit you anything?" So that's the first thing that anybody could think about it. Like, why would you worship these things? It could never benefit you in any shape or form. Uh, then he asked him also the way he asked, it was very nice and gentle. The way he said, "Yeah, Abati." Um, then he continued his conversation. He said, يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك. Look at the way he said it. He said, "Oh my father, I have received the knowledge that you haven't received. فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا." Follow me, then you will be guided to the straight path. صراطا سويا. Subhanallah. يا أبت لا تعبد الشيطان. Oh my father, don't worship the shaitan, because subhanallah, the shaitan will do anything to worship anybody but Allah. That's his number one goal in life. To make sure that he's gonna go to Jahannam. You know for sure that he's going to Jahannam, to the hellfire. But he's like, I'm not going alone. I'll drag as many people as I can from the human, as much as I could. And subhanallah, he himself said that in the Quran. No, let's keep it moving. So far so good. Yeah, abati la ta'bud shaitan. He's advising him, "Oh my father, don't worship the shaitan. Don't follow the shaitan's steps. Don't do what the shaitan is telling you to do." Why? The reason behind that is saying after that Allah says, إن الشيطان كان للرحمن عصيا. يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن. Oh my father, I'm afraid that Allah will punish you because you're not following the religion of Allah. فتكون للشيطان وليا. Now this is very interesting ayah. He said that you will be like a servant for the shaitan, or like shaitan will be the one who's gonna take over. Subhanallah. قال أراغب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم. This is, look at his dad's response. He said, like in a dry way, it's like, "Oh, do you like what I'm worshiping?" Like, and قال أراغب أنت, like, do you agree, or do you like what am I worshiping, like this idols? يا إبراهيم, oh Ibrahim, لئن لم تنتهي لأرجمنك. Literally, he told him, if you're not gonna stop doing this and stop telling me about the idols, I'll kick you out of my home. Subhanallah. وهجرني مليا, leave me, literally leave my business. It's literally his business. He's doing it as a business. Um, Now, what was his Ibrahim response? He said, "قال سلام عليك." He said salam to him. And he also said, سأستغفر لك ربي. I will ask Allah to make forgiveness for you. سأستغفر لك ربي إنه كان بي حفيا. Now at that point, Ibrahim have left him. And طيب ماشي. So far so good. Now we mentioned طيب. Now it's the point that he has to take a decision that he has to destroy the idols, because apparently for them talking is is not making any point. As we mentioned, they were not worshiping the asnam only, the idols only. They were worshiping the sun, the moon, and when the sun is rising, when the sun, there's literally people who worship the sun even nowadays. Allahu alam. Um, Now Ibrahim, he went to those people who worship the sun, and he looked at them, and he looked at the sun, and he said, "Yes, this is big." قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر. But when he noticed that the sun actually eventually at the end, like within 24 hours, it goes away, and he said he was thinking If that's a true God, it shouldn't go away. It should be there all the time, right? That makes sense. And at that point, he left those sun worshipper and he went to the moon. And the same thing. The moon only shows at night. It doesn't show at the morning. And that they make him have a conclusion that either the Shams or either the sun or the moon are not God at this point. So he went to others. So he's at this point he's searching and he's looking and he's thinking and throughout his journey about all of that. Um, okay, at that point, Ibrahim have taken that decision that he has to take upon himself to try and to look for Allah in everything in Allah creation. طيب, mm, because he's saying that Allah is the one who deserves to be worshipped, not those idols or the sun or the moon, because all of these are creation. Somebody have created them. There's no way that we can worship a creation. We have to worship the creator, who the one who made them. Yeah, so that was his claim. And يعني he tried, he looked, and um طيب. Now, at that point, he still hasn't, his people hasn't been convinced at all about the idol worshiper. And one day, one day, the Ibrahim have went, alayhi salam, to his people that they were worshipping at the time that they worship the asnam or the idols without Allah, and he told them like loudly, ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عابدون or عاكفون in the Quran mention. What are those idols that you guys worshiping? What's the point? I mean, what if you didn't do it? If is your life is gonna go like as smooth as it is right now? Like, what's the point if you're doing it then? Now the response was قالوا هذه آلهتنا. This is literally this is our gods. And that's very interesting. Like, how come their gods couldn't even move or even defend themselves? We'll come to that point, inshallah, after that. Um, and then it took them up that they mentioned that they have nine gods, and those nine gods on earth that that they will never benefit them or the opposite of benefit. يعني it will never make the gain or lose anything for that. But they have one other god that they also believe in, which is in the sky. Now he asked me a question. It's like, what's that's very interesting. He told them if you're sick, for which god you gonna go make a dua or for which god you gotta turn your face to? He said, oh, the one in the sky. Or if you lose sustenance, if you need sustenance or you need rizq. He said, yes, also in the sky. So what's the point of worshiping those nine on the ground though? And subhanAllah, that's very interesting. Even themselves believing that there is an entity higher than the one that they have on earth, that's a fact that they're just doing it because their father used to do it. It's just a custom at this point. Yani it's a habit. Interesting. Now he left them, um, and he went to the edges of the city, Ibrahim, and he saw people worshiping the stars. Oh, now he's worshiping the star. He saw another group of people worshiping the stars. And the when the city is empty, because remember he's at the edge of the city and it's all night. The Ibrahim went back to the city. It's like sneaking in. And what happened? He went to their temple and he destroyed all the idols without them even noticing. And the fact part, the interesting part is he didn't actually destroy all of them. He kept the strongest and the heaviest and the biggest one. Literally, he left the biggest idol that they have. And when the second day, then he went back to the city, the edges of the city. That way, they're not gonna suspect him. But interestingly, the first person come to their mind when they wake up and they went to their temple and they saw all of them are destroyed. They were all panicking and like kind of crying and like asking themselves, "Oh, who did that?" And this is a very interesting ayah mentioned in the Quran. Allah says, قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا. One of them says, قالوا نعرف فتى نذكرهم قالوا نعرف فتى let me double check that. قالوا نعرف فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. Yeah, sorry. Not قالوا. Yes. قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. One of them said, "Oh, we've heard about a young guy." By the way, Ibrahim was very young at that time, like, like youth, his teens, around 15 to 18 to 20, like at that time. He's very young, and he's arguing with his dad. He's arguing with his people. He's arguing with the people who worship the sun, the fire, and all of that. Subhanallah. Uh, and we should take him as an example in our life. Subhanallah. Even though we're young, but that doesn't mean we're not intelligent. We can't think. No, of course we can. Um, right. And we should be careful who we hang out with or who we spend our time with. And that's very important because that's gonna shape our life in a way or another. Right. So far, that sounds Um, قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. One of them says, "Oh, we've heard about a guy. His name is Ibrahim. And he might be number one suspicious because he's the one who said, 'Oh, stop worshiping the Islam,' as we mentioned in the story. Though what happened to him? قالوا فأتوا به. They all says, 'Oh, you know what? Bring him. That way we can question him. على أعين الناس, on the people. That way people can see him as well. لعلهم يشهدون. Maybe they will witness against him. So, subhanallah. Now, what happened is they asked him a question. قالوا أأنت فعلت هذا بآلهتنا. They told Ibrahim alayhi salam, are you the one or did you do this with our gods? SubhanAllah, or the false gods that they had believed in. Yeah, Ibrahim. Then immediately Ibrahim pointed with his finger this way and he said, "Oh, no, the biggest one, he did it." And he pointed with his finger that one. And subhanAllah, he didn't lie. He pointed his finger, the biggest finger that he has, and he said, "Oh, that one." And he also pointed at the biggest one that he didn't destroy it. He said, قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. And look at his interesting point that he just shot at them. He said, "Oh no, the biggest one did it." And he pointed with his finger at his finger towards that bigger guy. And he said, "Oh, ask that big guy, that you believe that he's a god. Ask him if they were even capable of speaking." فَاسْأَلُوهُمْ إِنْ كَانُوا يَنْطِقُونَ. At that point, the people, remember, guys, this is a big deal for them. And all of them gathered to question Ibrahim. Now, what happened is, Allah says in the Quran, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They went back to themselves. They went back to their conscience. They started thinking, "Oh, yes, his argument makes sense. If this God is a true God, it would have defended itself, right? It would, there's nobody to harm it. And the fact that it didn't, that means it's whatever we were doing, it's not true. Subhanallah. Um, ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمتم ما هؤلاء ينطقون. And they quickly went back. The original was like, "Oh yeah, we know that they don't even they're idols and they don't even talk." Oh, that means they're not God because subhanallah, if you claim somebody or an entity is a God, that means it has to have certain criterias, right? Like subhanallah, we if we look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll go to the ayat al-kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum. Al-Hayy, Allah is the one that He's alive, that He's sustained by Himself. Al-Qayyum, the one who doesn't sleep. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم, and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a very wonderful ayah, guys, inshallah, if you can check it out as well. Right. Um, as we mentioned, that after he destroyed all of them, Ibrahim, now at this point, they want to punish Ibrahim because they have nobody but him to suspect that he could have done that. Um, Now they're gonna punish Ibrahim. How are they gonna punish him? Um, that's gonna be interesting. So they prepared a fire for Ibrahim to burn him alive and as a sort of punishment for what he did to their gods. And the whole village are like teaming up. They're all helping and carrying the fire, the wood, and trying to keep it sustained. It's very interesting, يعني, subhanallah. And no matter what they do, and eventually Allah's plan will be the one. طيب, let's see. Now, as we mentioned, Abraham is the one who destroyed the idols, and his people. He told them about the phrases that they used to have, proven that just the fact that this is a custom that you guys just used to do, that doesn't mean it's true, and they could have saved themselves from that. But the fact that they didn't, that means they're not God. And they decided to punish him with burning, and they invented a machine that we'll talk about it, inshallah. They invented a machine that could throw stuff from far area. And the fact that, subhanallah, that's very interesting. Um, this machine they invented because they couldn't come close the fire. So how come they could have sent Ibrahim to the fire without harming themselves? Um, طيب. مسألة طيب. So Allah says in the Quran on their tongue, قالوا حرقوه قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم. Oh, before that, he said, أُفٍّ لكم ولما تعبدون من دون الله. He come annoyed at them. It's like, off for you and whatever you worshiping beside Allah. Now, what their punishment was to burn him alive. قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم وانصروا آلهتكم. Yes. إن كنتم فاعلين. Now, as we mentioned, they invaded that machine to throw him because they couldn't even come near that fire. For like 40 days, the fire was like literally flaming and hot, and literally they couldn't even come near it. To the point that literally they were describing the birds, if it flies on top of the smoke, it will literally like burn as well. Imagine the fire itself. Wait, Allah says in the Quran, when Ibrahim was thrown at this point, he's literally flying towards the fire, and the angel Jibril came to him, and he asked him a question: do you need any help? Do you need any? يعني, you're in a rough situation at this point. And Ibrahim is literally in a few seconds away from the fire, and Ibrahim's response was very unique and different than others. He said, "From you, oh, from the angel Jibril, he said, from you, no, nothing. But from Allah, he said, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is my Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil." So what happened after that is Allah says in the Quran, قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم. Allah says to the fire to be calm, to be cold, literally. If Allah just say cold, Ibrahim will freeze to death. And salaman, and he mentioned salam, and also if you know the word salam, it's not just by saying, oh, salam alaikum. No, the word salam means like safe, to be cold and safe for Ibrahim. And subhanAllah, the fire didn't burn anything of Ibrahim, but whatever they were tying him with. So the rope that they had on Ibrahim's hand, and wherever they're covering their eyes with. So all that was burned, but him, nothing was happening to him, alhamdulillah. So what happened is, after that, interestingly, he started walking back to his people. Inshallah, we'll have the game in like a few minutes. We're almost there. So he started walking back to his people. Like nothing happened, dude. The people just throw him in the fire, and the fact that he's coming back, that's a miracle right there. Yani, subhanallah, is that something normal if somebody has been thrown in the big bowl fire and he's normally walking back? Probably that's not normal. Or not probably, that's 100% that's not normal. And now, after that, they left him alone because they couldn't harm him, they couldn't do anything to him. So now we'll talk on a different section of that story when Ibrahim um, alayhi salam, have faced somebody his name An-Namrud. The Namrud is just the name of a king that he's a disbeliever, he's a kafir, and unjust. Allah have give him kingdom. He never thank Allah for it. He never thank Allah for it. And now he's saying that he's a god as well. He's telling you that he's a god, and when Abraham heard about that, he's like, oh, let me check it out. Let me see what's his claim. What's the point of his claiming that he's a god? And when he went to him, he said, oh, I'm a god. He's told him like, what's how to prove that? He said, oh, I can make people alive or death. And immediately he brought two people from. I was like, show me. Immediately he brought two people from the jail, and he just decided to kill someone and to let someone go. And Ibrahim looked at him and he's like, that's, he didn't even argue because he knew that, yani, what's the point of arguing? He says, oh, okay, if you're claiming that you're a god, why didn't you bring this? Allah bring the sun from the east to the west. Why didn't you switch it up from the west to the east? And at that point, he couldn't do it. SubhanAllah. And we all know, um, just because you kill someone, that doesn't mean you're a god or like you took his life off, but that doesn't mean you're a god. SubhanAllah. And that's a very interesting story. Now let's talk about the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now Ibrahim, he has a wife. He has, I think, two wives. Yes, we'll come across it inshallah. One of them is Hajar. Now Hajar, because we'll have to associate with the prophet Ismail, because that's his son. Yeah, yeah. So this story inshallah will be a little longer because it has to be with both of them. So we'll cut it in half. We'll talk about Ibrahim, then Ismail. طيب. Now, okay, let's talk about his wife and we can stop from there. Now, Ibrahim, one of his wife, her name is Hajar, and Ibrahim went, alayhi salam, from Babel, Iraq. There is a city called Babel in Iraq. That used to be very well known back in the day. And Egypt, because remember, guys, have in mind when we say the Bilad al-Sham, it's like multiple countries. It's not one country. And he went from there to, guide people or to ask them to worship Allah and to make his da'wah widespread in that area. And his wife Sarah, he has another wife, his name is Sarah, also went with him to Egypt. And they were a very unjust ruler there in Egypt. And whenever he see any beautiful woman, he just take it from his man. And there were spies that at the city, and they saw Ibrahim with his wife Sarah. Then he came to them and he asked them to literally to take his wife or like to put him in jail just because he's a very sick man, subhanallah. And whenever he wants to do anything bad to her, she made a dua that he literally become paralyzed. And he himself asked her to make another dua to her Lord to make him back. And once he's back, he went back to do the same thing and to harm her again. 3 times. At that third time, he's like, no way I'm touching you anymore. You're out of the way. he thought that she's a wizard or a magician or something, but subhanallah, she's not. Like, what happened is, after that, he let her go, and Ibrahim have went back to the Bilad al-Shams, like Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and Lebanon, in that area, with his wife Sarah, and at that time, he didn't have kids from her. Then Hajar came to her life. And Hajar, he went with her. SubhanAllah, the name Hajar is mean like the name is similar to the Hijrah, which is like migrating. He went with her to nowadays known as the Kaaba. The Kaaba, literally, that's where Zamzam water will come out. We'll get to that, inshallah, on the next session, inshallah. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah, we'll stop here, inshallah. We'll continue the transition between Ibrahim to Ma'il, inshallah story, and the Zamzam water, how did it come, and the Safa and Marwa, and why you're doing pilgrimage, Umrah, and Hajj, like all of that. The story behind it is very wonderful and very emotional as well. And the building of a Kaaba as well. We'll talk about it inshallah next time. The benefits. Um as well. Type. And that'll be it for today. Are you guys do you guys have any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, there is no questions. You can type it down. Mm, type. Sorry about that. Now, let's start the game. Let me
Are you
see.
gonna send us the link?
Okay. Bismillah. Let's see. All right, we're gonna do a game that we didn't do before. Let's see. We did kind of all of them, but we haven't done this one. Tower 2. What do you guys think? Type in the chat if you want to play the same game or a different game. That's fine. But I want to see in the chat, guys. What do you guys think? Alright, tower, defense. Mm-hmm. Okay. What about the rest? You can unmute yourself, guys. The one who didn't respond. If you want. What games do you guys want to play?
I wanna play this one. The link. I wanna play this one.
Or do you want it to be random? Well, since we have two
I wanna
people,
do crypto.
we can do okay, three people. Somebody wants fishing. Okay. Okay, since we have three. Okay,
Fishing.
now Rami changed his mind to crypto. Okay. Type. We'll do.
Wait, are you gonna send us the
Okay, we
link?
can play two games. We can do.
The scripted dinos. We
Let
never
me
done
see.
that one.
1 second. Let's do tower defense first.
Okay.
Where is it? Okay. We'll do this one first. Then inshallah, we'll do another voting for the next game. What's going on? It's not started. Starting.
You forgot to send us the link.
Okay. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر